Last week on News of the Week, we interviewed the BLF. This week, we have an interview with CEO of AfriForum, Kallie Kriel. Welcome, Kallie. How are you today?
No, fine at yourself, Amida, and it's a pleasure speaking to you.
I'm well, thank you. Kallie, we invited you to ITV's News of the Week because we want you to share with us more about the Duduzane case and what prompted the AfriForum to get involved in that case.
Yes, when we started the private prosecution unit under Advocate Gerrie Nel, we stated that we wanted to make sure that there is equality before the law and that every person that should be prosecuted, if there are facts showing that they might be guilty, to make sure that they are prosecuted and there should not be any political interference to stop such a prosecution. And the reason why we've intervened in the Duduzane Zuma case is because exactly that happened. There was a Magistrate did a judicial inquiry into the death of Dube, a young woman that was killed in the accident where the car that caused the accident was driven by Duduzane Zuma. Magistrate Chetty found that there was clear evidence that Mr. Zuma was negligent, and his negligence led to the death of Dube as well as Mrs. Nanki Mashaba. So two people died. So there's not an AfriForum saying there's evidence. It was Judge Chetty that found so. And of course, that should be a clear-cut case. If there's an inquiry and the magistrate finds such a thing, then there's no reason why there should not be a prosecution. But despite this, the NPA decided not to prosecute. And of course, the only reason for that is because it was the then president's son. And we cannot have that. If it was any of the viewers, if it was you, if it was I, we would have been in court a long time ago. So what we are actually doing here is to make sure that there's equality before the law, and that is in the interest not only of the Dube family, not only in the interest of AfriForum or Advocate Nel, it's the interest of everybody in this country that believes in the rule of law.
And how does the Dube family feel about AfriForum getting involved?
Well, they welcome it. We also had a member of the Dube family coming out saying they are unhappy with what happened at the court, and they welcomed the fact that AfriForum was willing to help them. You know, if you're in a situation like this where you have the Dube family is a poor family without any resources, and it's actually a pity when people don't have resources, then they are left in the lurch and they don't get justice to be done. And there was nobody that was willing to help them. The NPA didn't want to help them. The fact is the NPA did not even inform them that they were not going to prosecute. So when we spoke to them, they were very pleased. They are happy about what is happening at the moment. And we are glad that we can bring justice in a case where it wouldn't have happened simply because it was a powerful person that should have been taken on, and the victim was a poor person.
And how do you choose your cases? Because there have been comments in the past where they say that you only take on white people's cases, and we've seen some difference here. Tell me about AfriForum and how you basically, involve yourself in cases.
The interesting thing is from the left, people like the BLF would accuse us saying we only target black people. But if you're going to look at the other side of the political spectrum, the far right in the white community accuse AfriForum saying we only represent black people in our cases. So that's for us good. If you get attacked from both sides, we believe we are in the middle. If you look at the people we are representing the Dube family. It's not a so-called white family. We are representing Gabriella Engels in the Mugabe case, who's also not a so-called white person. The fact is we don't choose the people that we want to go after. We say we're going to go after people that should be prosecuted and aren't. And therefore, our cases are chosen for us, in a sense, by the NPA, the National Prosecuting Authority. If you look at cases where white people were involved in let's take, for instance, the so-called coffin case, or let's take what happened in Kulini with the two farmers with the the black boy that fell off the bakkie, and all those kind of cases, the state, the NPA, make sure that they do prosecute. So we cannot get involved in any of those cases. And it's the right thing that the state prosecutes, but the only cases where the NPA does not prosecute is in terms of high-flying people with political connections. And of course, then it would create that perception that we are going after Duduzane Zuma or Grace Mugabe. But the reason we are going after them is because the state does not. It will continue in that way if the NPA continues to use politics in deciding who they should prosecute. If the NPA simply does their job, which is the first prize for us, then there's no need for us to get involved in any of these issues.
Can you give us an update on the Mugabe case?
Yes, we went to court in May, the 10th and 11th of May, to the North Gauteng High Court, where we had an application to set aside the diplomatic immunity of Grace Mugabe. But we are still awaiting the court to give a ruling in that regard. If the court sets aside Grace Mugabe's diplomatic immunity, then of course the NPA has the first bite at the cherry to prosecute Grace Mugabe. We hope they would do their job, because anybody else would have been prosecuted if they assaulted somebody with an electric cord. But only then, if they don't, then we will prosecute ourselves. But we are confident that that a ruling would be given in such a way that Grace Mugabe could be prosecuted.
What is the latest initiatives that AfriForum is currently faced with? I know you're always busy getting involved in matters. What is the current matter that you all are getting involved with?
Well, Gerrie Nel is looking at more than 200 cases at the moment. But the next one that we announced this week is a prosecution of a senior politician, chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Thandi Modise. AfriForum is not as an organization involved. Advocate Gerrie Nel is acting as the prosecutor on behalf of the SPCA. And the SPCA has statutory powers to prosecute if the NPA does not. And there was an animal neglect case against Thandi Modise. The NPA, despite the evidence, strong political evidence, decided not to prosecute, which again was a political decision. And that's why we are acting on behalf of the SPCA to make sure that there is prosecution in this regard.
Thank you, Mr. Kriel, for joining us here on News of the Week.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure visiting you.